Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 here of Spread Crushers. I've got a excellent guest on the show today. One of the great friends of mine. Man, he was there for the birth of my son, and
Yeah.
this is a very privileged moment for me to have him on. This is Matt Fields. He's going to be speaking with us today regarding hitting specifically, and I just really am looking forward to this meeting. So guys, here he is, Matt Fields. Why don't you go and introduce yourself, bud?
How you guys doing? Matt Fields, like Shive said, I've known him for a long time now. Pretty good, really good friends actually. And I just want to say thank you first off for allowing me to be on the show, Shive, man. Like I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and I look forward to getting into this and helping these younger guys and even coaches and parents understand what it is, to be a professional athlete and also to be a human being. So it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely, man. So like you just said, thank you. I appreciate you coming on here. So let's jump right into this, man.
Okay.
You've had a 12-year career in professional baseball, and I'm going to say that again, 12 years. This has been a career in the making. Yeah, a long time, right?
Yeah.
I want to ask you a serious question here, and this is something we went over in the pre-interview. Why are you still playing baseball? What is it for you that keeps bringing you back, man?
Man, to tell you the truth, it's an easy question to answer, right? Like, it's just the love for the game, man. Like, it literally, since I was a kid, I played multiple sports. I played basketball, I played football, soccer, all those, and I really liked those, right? Like, my dad played professional basketball. He was in the NBA for a year and then played overseas for a long time.
Yep.
And I liked basketball. But as soon as I got on the baseball field, I loved it, right? Like, I can't explain why or how it happened, but I just fell in love with it.
Yep.
And I feel like the reason why I'm still doing what I'm doing now and coaching and playing and all of that is because I love it and I love what it is turning me into.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Awesome.
everything within the game has made me who I am today. Right? Like
Yeah.
it has taught me about not just baseball, right?
Yep.
But it's taught me how to be a better human being, better son, friend, player,
Mhm.
right? Like, and it taught me a lot of life lessons because this game is literally 70% failure, right? So you fail 7
Yeah.
out of 10 times
Yeah.
and you're considered a Hall of Famer, right? We're
Yep.
all human beings and we are perfectionists. As much as we say we don't want to be, we're perfectionists, right? So
Yeah.
when we fail, it drives us crazy. So then we try to do better. And then in doing that, we go even more crazy because we never reached the level that we want to get to, which is being perfect. Right. So the guys that are superstars in the league right now, like Mike Trout, do you think he cares if he goes over 3 with like 3 strikeouts? Right? No, because he knows the next day is going to be a new day and he keeps to do what he loves to do. Right. And
Yep.
that's something that I feel as though a lot of players, especially younger players, don't realize. Right. Like, 'cause I deal with youth guys, I deal with middle school guys, high school, all that.
Yeah.
And all it is nowadays, what it's about is numbers or what perfect game can I go to or like where can I go to get looked at or what do I have to do to be seen, right?
Yeah.
If you put in the work and just don't worry about that and worry more about development and just
Yep.
learning,
Yep.
that's when everything comes into play, right? Because we don't start understanding it and taking it in until we're what, like high school, maybe sophomore or junior.
Yep.
We're still developing, we're still growing, we're still learning our bodies, right? Like
Yeah.
everything's still developing.
Yeah.
Once we get to that junior year in high school, that's when things start getting a little bit more serious and we start realizing who we are and what we need to do and where we need to go, right? Because from high school, guess what? College, if you're lucky enough to go. And then in college, they really groom you. What they try to do really is break you down to build you up, right? Depending on where you go.
Yeah.
And then if you're lucky enough to go from high school to the pros, right? Which, like, I got drafted out of high school, draft and follow, went to a community college for a year, and then went to the pros.
Yeah.
Luckily, I went to college, the community college for a year, because if I would have went straight from high school to pros, I probably would have been done because I wasn't mentally prepared. So it was like everything kind of happens for a reason, right? But
Yeah.
the most important thing for me, for younger guys, parents, coaches, is to understand, right? Like each kid is different. One kid may take you being really hard on them and use that as fuel, where another kid is extremely sensitive, you do that, you make him quit baseball forever. And it's something that he loves to do. Like, he won't ever play again.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to be very mindful of how we go about talking and responding to kids, and actually figure out what it is that they're trying to get out of it, and then help them by being like a support system, right?
Yeah.
Like, get to know who you're dealing with. Don't just treat everybody the same, because you can go from literally having a Mike Trout, right, who's sensitive, but if you come at him hard, like, he's just like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore, and you might miss out on a superstar, to where you got, it just depends. So I would say just remember why you're doing it, right? Which at the end of the day, for all of us who are still in baseball or who still love baseball, it's because we love it, man. Like, I can't get away from it. Like you said, I've played 12 years. I've been around my whole life. Like, I can't get away from it, and I can't shake the feeling. Like, I have to be around it. I have to help other people. It makes me extremely happy, right? Like, it's my happy place. Abundance of happiness, right? Like, when I'm on a field and when I'm around people who love what I'm, the game and what I love, it makes it 10 times better. So,
yeah, I like that, Matt. I like that, man. That's a good opening here to this interview, is understanding, why you play the game is the same reason why a lot of us and a lot of your close teammates, obviously, I consider myself one of your close teammates, and
for sure.
I hope that you do the same. Obviously, you were there for the birth of my son,
Yeah.
so I consider you pretty close. But as we move forward into some of these talking points, I brought you onto the show, and you know this.
Yeah.
It's to talk about the discipline of hitting, right? And so you're a big time hitter, dude. And so one of the first things I want to get right into right now, and I want the parents to really hear you talk about this easy talking point here, is I want you to tell us what you feel these youth players, and I'm talking guys from the younger ages, 7U all the way up to 17U, high school age, what do these guys, specifically hitters, need to be doing right now to prepare for the upcoming season? They don't know when it's going to be, but what do they need to be preparing for in this upcoming season?
I would say right now, to truly prepare, during this hard time, right? It's a lot of course, still working on your mechanics, right? T-work, certain things that you're working on, right? Like, for me, I like to work with my guys on being able and being connected into the ground, right? So having a good solid base to where you're athletic and you can move, and at the same time learning how to use your lower half and your core to supply majority of your power, your whip, right? Like you said, I'm a big guy, I'm a power hitter. So for me, the most important piece of my swing is making sure everything's in sync, and that my lower half and my core is creating that force through my swing, right?
Yeah.
And me personally, I like to do a lot of T-work. And I know how some people feel about that. Some people rather have flips, but when you don't have someone that can throw to you every day or do something for you every day, T is like the best way to go about it, because it's stationary. You can literally set up your pitch where you want it. You can move it outside. You can move it inside. You can go up, down, in, out, whatever you want to do, right? You can set it up to where you can still challenge yourself, but it's stationary. So you don't have to rush. Everything's nice and relaxed. You just get your groove, right?
Yeah.
Get your groove.
Is that an important thing for you about players not rushing their drills and their mechanics? Do you want them to really, I know it sounds obvious, but I want to hear it from an elite level hitter, a guy who's been in AAA multiple times, and a guy who's played in some of the best independent ball leagues. I think a lot of players, just youth level players, take that for granted. So talk to me about not rushing that process of your preparation in something like this to get ready for a season. How important is that to you?
For me, it's extremely important, right? Because when the ball starts to move, right, as a hitter, what do we usually tend to do? We tense up, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's automatic. Everything rushes. If we're not on time, we rush, right? T-work, everything is stationary, is not moving. So we can literally take our time and get everything we need in order and go. And we can consistently do it. For me, I don't like rushing through T-work. I don't like rushing through any kind of work. I like specifically working on things in order to repeat it, right? So quality over quantity. If it's 5 swings and they all feel good, I'll move on to the next drill, right?
Yeah.
But I feel as though nowadays, a lot of the kids, don't necessarily see it that way. They want to go right into flips. They want to just start swinging. Like they don't want to work on the fundamentals, right? And like T work, man, literally with my guys during my lessons and stuff that I give, first thing we do if I'm first working with you, I get you in the cage. I let you take 5 to 10 swings, right? So I can look at your swing and kind of see what's going on, right? Yeah. And then from there, I start making tiny adjustments, right? And then even in the beginning, I tell them the goal with this is to be able to hit the back net on a line 5 in a row. So 5 times in a row, right? When you can do that consistently and show me that you can consistently stay on that plane and get through the ball and have that nice pure backspin through the back of the net, then we move on to the next drill.
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes it may be quick. Sometimes it may take guys a little bit longer. We might be there a little bit, a little bit longer.
Sure. Yeah.
But I don't rush them. So I'll put it on the tee. They'll swing. I'm not just doing this, right? I'll boom set on the tee, let them swing, and then I'll ask them, what they do, how they feel, just to kind of get their mind off of what's going on, and then I'll set another ball on, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about learning how to relax. Because what happens in a game? Do you just keep swinging? Like you foul a ball off, and you just jump back in there and swing? Yes. No, right? Like there's like a 10 to 15 second gap in between to where you get yourself in order while the pitcher's getting himself in order. So it's like from there, understand what it is you're trying to do, get back in, relax, get your timing down, breathe, and go. Yeah. So I try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
I don't really get into anything difficult right away. And and then I kind of from there I ask them, okay, what did you feel? What is your thought process? What went first? Right? Why did you hook that ball to third base? What went first? Right? Because it's simple. If you roll over, upper body goes first. Right? If you kind of drift your backside and go and float it forward when you swing, you're probably gonna a little fillet to right, right? So you have to be able to keep everything grounded, close, nice and strong, and think real nice and tight, driving that backside through the ball. Because with that, everything's connected. It'll automatically go through and stay on plane, line drive up the middle. Yeah. So I keep it real simple.
I like that.
I don't try to confuse anyone because hitting's hard enough already, right? And like for kids, I work with kids 5 to about 20-something years old, right?
Yeah.
And for the younger guys, I try to make it extremely fun because, like they're young. Their attention span's like this big. You can't really say anything to them and they'll kind of forget it. So I make games out of it.
Yeah, that's good.
Like, hey, if you can do this, here we go. And I'm pretty good with kids. Like I love training everybody, right? So it's easy for me to connect because I've been there, right? Yeah. Like I know how hard it is. Like it's not easy. Like I had to figure out how to, I had someone help me learn how to hit. And it stuck with me, of course, but still during that whole time, I struggled with it, right? It didn't come overnight. Like I had to literally work and work and work and work until it kind of sunk in. So
yeah, I like that. So there was something that you said in there in the beginning that you talked about being a power hitter. And so it's not that this conversation needs to go in the direction of being a power hitter, but more so, I want you to talk to us about finding your identity as a hitter and understanding the importance of that. And I had a previous guest on, Ryan Basham, and Ryan talked to me when I asked him that question. He talked to me about not building an artificial ceiling. And I know I'm kind of just throwing this curveball at you right now in the middle of the interview.
You're
but
good.
What is it to you in terms of building an identity that is important as a hitter when you step into the box? Why is that important to understand what you are and who you are as a hitter?
It's important to understand that because that's what supplies you your confidence, right? Like going into the box and not knowing who you are is like basically it's like living a lie, right? Like, okay, I'm just going in here hoping that something good happens. Right? Like you can't do that in anything. In order to be successful, you have to know who you are, and what you stand for, and what you bring to the table, right? So for me, it took me a long, like I knew I was a power hitter, right? Like I knew that's what people saw me as, right? And for the longest, I saw myself as the complete hitter, right? And if you look at my numbers, right, that doesn't show it because my average wasn't that good. Yes, I had power numbers. I drove in a lot of runs, but I had also a lot of strikeouts, right? So like for me, in my head, I was like, oh, I'm just an average, I'm a good hitter. I can hit for average and all this. So I try to do something that I possibly am capable of, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't who I was at the
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
So by doing that, it only hurt me because then I really struck out a lot because I'm just trying to touch the ball instead of just swinging and being strong and being powerful and just making contact, right?
Yes.
So like
Yes.
the older I got, early in my career, that's how I was. I knew I was a power guy, but then I was battling being a power guy and trying to hit for average like Miguel Cabrera, right? Which is, he's a freak. So like that's just what it is, right? But the more I got, the older I got, right? The more I just start realizing like, hey man, this is what it is. This is who I am. You can always change, right? And morph into something better, but I have power, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what I was blessed with. I have to use it. If I strike out, hey, I strike out, but I'm going to drive in some runs. I'm going to do some damage. That's what I'm built for. So once I actually embraced that, that's when things kind of opened up and I started being a better hitter. I started, hitting a little bit higher average, driving more runs, hitting more home runs. Like that's when things started to kind of get to where, when I was with Kansas City, like I was one step away from the big leagues, right? Like that was based on me coming out of retirement too. So it's just like, it's crazy. Like everything kind of happens when it's supposed to happen, right? Some people get there faster than others, but then there's guys like me and you, right? Who the older we get, the better we get.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah.
And, a lot of these kids out here that I talk to or I train or like I look at and I ask them real questions like, hey man, what kind of player are you? Right? Like I asked a senior this the other day. I was like, hey, what kind of player are you? He's like, what do you mean? I was like, as of right now, in your mind, what kind of player are you? What do you think you are? Right? He's like, oh, I'm a power guy. I was like, okay, how many home runs did you hit last year? He's like, I hit 5. I was like, all right, 5 home runs, high school season, about 20, maybe 25 games, 5 home runs. What was your average? Oh, it was like 3 something. I was like, okay, that's pretty good. How many RBIs you had? Oh, like 50. Oh, okay, cool. All right, well, that's good, right? I was like, how many doubles you have? About 20. Okay. I was like, so okay. I was like, imagine this, right? You said 20 doubles. Yep. You hit 3 something. You had 5 home runs and you drove in about 50, which is good. I was like, you're not a power guy.
Yeah.
Like I've seen you in the cave.
Gap to gap guy.
Yeah. I was like, you're not a power guy. I was like, you're a gap to gap guy. I was like, you're a senior in high school, right? The older you get, you may become a power guy. But right now, stick to what your strengths are. You can hit the ball on a line to the gaps. When you get bigger and stronger, those doubles in the gaps are going to turn into home runs. So don't think I'm a home run guy. Think I'm a hitter. I'm a gap to gap. I like to drive the ball into the gaps. I'm trying to hit a double.
Yeah.
Right? Because I told him, I was like, the difference between me and you, I'm a power guy. You're a gap to gap guy. You probably make more contact than me, right? So imagine, take your contact and your doubles and your gap to gap into a real game situation and you get bigger and stronger. Now you're going to be a home run guy, right? But like for me, I'd rather be a complete hitter and then turn it into a guy who hits home runs than being a power guy, because as soon as you get that label, which I got my senior year in high school, there's a lot of pressure on you because you automatically think you have to hit home runs every at bat. So then guess what? Strikeouts. You start putting pressure on yourselves with people on base. You start mentally like tricking yourself out of hitting, basically, because you're sitting there guessing, right? Like there's a lot of things that can come into play right there, right? So like for youth and like youth, high school guys, even college guys, don't be something you're not, right? Like really look in the mirror and realize who you are. And we're all smart enough to know who we are based on size, strength, all that. Like you can be like, all right, well, I'm 5'10", like I'm a $180. I'm not going to be a power guy unless I get some more meat on me. And then of course, then I turn into like Josh Donaldson or something to where I know how to use all my body and get all that power out of my swing. Then from there, yeah, but like in the realm, right in the beginning, you need to know who you are and be real with yourself. The toughest conversations are had with yourself in the mirror, right? Like there's a lot of things. Like you look in the mirror and you see something completely different, right? Like, oh, okay, I'm like 7 foot, blah, 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 when you're like five,
Yeah.
five, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I like that, man. I like what you're saying there about getting into the mirror and looking at yourself. And it comes back to what Ryan Basham said. Like I said, I've addressed this a couple times already in this interview, and I love listening to Ryan, who Ryan was a 5'10" gap to gap hitter. You know, he was a guy that would batted for a high average. And now we're dealing with a guy like yourself who's 6'5", 6'6". You're a power guy. And understanding that, you know, Ryan had a comment in there about not putting an artificial ceiling on a player's potential, and meaning he expressed, hey, you know what you are and then try to work to get better, right? And I think that's what you're saying too. And it's
that's for sure what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
in order to get better and to, like you said, not get stuck with that ceiling and be able to break through that ceiling, you have to realize who you are, what you are, and be okay with it. And then realize that you have to work in order to go above and beyond, right? Like, you
yeah,
can't be complacent. You have to be able to push through all that. And you can't let the noise, the outside noise, or what other people think of you hold you down, right?
yeah,
Because they're like, if that was the case, a lot of us wouldn't have done what we've done or gone where we've gone or met the people that we have, right? Is because we would have automatically gave up. You can't give up.
yeah,
You got to be able to say, all right, this is what I need to work on to get better. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to prove people wrong, right? That's
yeah.
basically what you have to think and feel when you kind of do what you're supposed to do and love what you're supposed to do. So
Perfect. So now let's take a step forward. Let's say this. I want to hear what you have to say about building a mindset for hitting when you come into games. I know this was an important thing for you. And the next two topics we're going to talk about are building a mindset and having an approach. So let's start with a mindset. What's your mindset when you come into a game? Give us that little detail, that insight as, hey, this is what it took for me when I got to the professional level of sports, about having a mindset of doing my job.
okay. Well, first off, like, especially when you get to a professional level, and even I don't even say even professional level, like throughout everything that you do, right? Whether it be high school, college, whatever, your mindset, you have to feel as though you belong there, right? Like, you have to be like, I belong here. This is where I'm here for a reason, right? Because if you doubt that, you're never gonna fully reach your potential,
Right.
right? Like, so my mindset everywhere I went was, I belong here. I am a very important piece of this team. I'm going to do whatever I can to make my teammates better, make myself better, and make everyone around me enjoy the game. Right. So, like, my main purpose sometimes when I went into situations is to make sure that I was like the clown slash like leader slash like just make sure everybody was good. Right.
Yeah.
Because for me, if you're not having fun playing this game, and you're not going to be around a long time. And
Yeah.
that's why, like, the season when we played together, right? Like, me playing with you guys brought back my spirit after getting released from Tampa Bay,
Yeah.
right? So, like, getting released, I thought my life was over. Pinto gave, or I ended up going to Joliet, the Slammers, and then got traded over to you guys. When I got there and just met all you guys and met the staff and met everybody, like, I knew that was where I belonged, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is where I'm supposed to be right now. This is where God wanted me to be, right? And then from there, like, we ended up having an amazing season, and it literally brought the joy back into my life from, like, almost feeling like I didn't know what I was gonna do with the rest of my life. And I was 20
Yeah.
something years old, right?
Yeah.
So that was a very important piece to my mindset, because, like, without you guys and without having that, like, that unity and you guys being there to support me and me to support you guys, and we literally push each other to do what we all need to do, because half the time we were hurt, we were tired,
Yeah.
you know, like, we were missing our families. There's a lot of things that were going on that people don't see, that, you know, in order to really get through all that, you have to have a strong mindset and a good support system. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, like, the whole mindset of anything, well, especially specifically for this, you have to feel as though you belong, right?
Yeah.
And that you are an important piece. Because if you do that, it'll keep you working every day, and it'll keep you pushing guys around you to work every day, and
Yeah.
it'll keep you motivated to want to be better and do what it is that you're supposed to do, and be the best person or version of yourself that you're supposed to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the goal in anything in life. Like, we always want to be better than where we're at in the given time, and the only way to do that is to be able to understand that that's where we belong, and we're here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So it's just
So yeah, it's about being healthy, man, and I understand that. I get that's what you're saying is having that healthy mindset of understanding I'm here, I'm supposed to be here, this is where I need to be right now, and making the best of that opportunity,
yeah.
and I like that. So moving forward now, talk to me about approach, okay?
Yeah.
And like I said, let's be specific here about approach when it comes to. I know every level is different from the youth levels to middle school to high school to pro ball and all that stuff. Like I get all that, but talk to me about approach as a hitter. Like give us some insight as to what Matt Fields was like when you got into the box. What was your approach and what were you looking to accomplish?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, right? It's definitely approach is extremely important because that's what gets you set and ready and like fully committing to whatever it is that you want to accomplish, right? And for me, in order to build my approach, I had to build a routine, something that will get me like
Yeah,
familiar with what it is that I wanted to do. So, like my routine, literally, I'd wake up. Like it wouldn't necessarily start when I wake up and all that, but like for me, I would wake up, kind of get ready, get myself together, have breakfast, do whatever I needed to do, talk to my wife or at the time, right? And then go. I usually show up to the field early just because I like getting to the field and being there and being present and just being around the guys, right? Like I loved being there early and leaving late, right? So
yeah,
get there early, put my gear on, kind of sit there, listen to some music, get myself mentally prepared, and as soon as I was done listening to one of my favorite songs, turn off my music, go to the cage, get my early work in, right? So my tee
yeah,
work, take about 10 to 15 swings off the tee, trying to hit the ball at the middle, line drive. Then, have my coach front toss, work on my direction, trying to stay up the middle right center or gap to gap, right? Trying to keep everything tight and in tune and just try to make sure I feel what I'm doing. And I wouldn't take too many swings just because, we have to play a game, we have BP and all that. And then I literally would talk to him just about, my approach. Because for me, I felt like in order to do it, I had to say it out loud, right? Like I couldn't just keep it to myself.
yeah,
I had to let people know around me that way when they saw me outside of that, like BP or whatever, they'd be like, hey, I thought you were working on this. And then that would hold me accountable, right? So I
yeah,
was like, okay, cool. But my approach, especially hitting, for me, like I wanted to be able to stay gap to gap, right? Because of course you get into a mode where you just want to pull balls and hit the ball as far as you can and like show off and have people look at you and be like, ooh, ah, right? But in a game, if you're specifically working on just hitting the ball hard and far and pulling everything, right? In the game, somebody throws you off speed pitch, what are you going to be doing? Your head's going to be in left field. You're not going to see the ball. Nothing's going to work out, right? So for me, I made it a point to try to hit line drives to right center. First 2-3 rounds, I try to hit the ball as hard as I can through the second baseman, right center gap, just to try to stay on the ball for as long as I can. Even if the pitch was inside, I would try to stay up the middle, try to hit the center, right? Just because that'll help me in the game realize that all I have to do is react.
yeah,
Because that's all it is in the game. A pitch inside, you react. You
yeah,
don't naturally just look to hit an inside pitch. You just react, right?
yeah, yeah,
So for me, it was definitely gap to gap, and then really trying to hammer that right center gap. And then I go even deeper into it with what pitch am I looking for, right? So like approach and having your plan set up, right? It's all about really pitch selection at the end of the day, timing, and then of course getting your pitch selection because technique and mechanics and all that, you work on that in BP and practice, but in the game you don't think about that. You just naturally let your body work, and things kind of happen. They should
yeah,
happen, right? But for me, when I did really well, right, like when I was unconscious and just could hit everything, my approach and my pitch selection were on point. My timing was on point, and I literally looked middle away, right? Because I hate inside pitches because my arms are long, and for some reason my arm will go this way, and I kind of cut across, right? I don't know why,
yeah,
but middle away because I want to get extended. That's when I do the most damage, right? So like I literally had to focus on looking middle away. If it's not there, I'm not swinging at it, right? And if it's not a fastball, and you have to be very specific with your approach, right? Because you can go up there and be like, all right, well, I'm just going to hit a fastball. With that, you can swing at something up, down, in, out, whatever, right? So you have to be very clear with your approach and plan, right? Be very specific. So like me, thigh high to belt high fastball right down the middle. That's what I look for. And then from there, I just reacted.
I got you. I got you. Okay. So I like that, man. That approach talks about game day, preparations coming in through it, and then what you're obviously looking for once you step into the box. So talk to me a little bit right now, because you're a guy that you're training right now to go back
Yeah.
out for a 13th season. Okay. I want to say that again, a 13th season. Your guy's been in the game a long time. So talk to me about the evolution of you as a hitter, and how you're still continuing to learn. What are some books you're reading? What are some things you're doing to just kind of prepare yourself mentally and to continue to educate yourself?
Okay. So as of right now, like you said, right, 13 years. So it's been a long time. It's 2004, 2005. I've been playing, right? And from what people don't know right now is that I haven't played since 2016, right? So it's like, it's been a long time. And I'm throwing myself right back into the fire after being out for 4 years, right?
Yeah.
I feel like within those 4 years and me being a coach and like training younger guys and training high school guys and just kind of coaching my 16 or 14U and 15U team, right? I had to educate myself because I wanted to make them the best that they could possibly be and have them have the opportunities that I had to be able to go and play and see and play against my idols and play with my idols and stuff like that, man. Like it's one of the best experiences you'll ever get if you ever get the opportunity, right? So for me, like I'm reading this book right now. So Heads Up Baseball 2.0, right? This for me has been a godsend because all this is about is like is about the mindset, right? The mental game. It has nothing to do with physical or mechanics or anything like that. It's about knowing yourself. And when you get to a green light situation where you're on the, you can just naturally just do whatever it is and not think about it.
Yeah.
And knowing when you go to a yellow light, when you're like, uh-oh, something changed. And then before you get to that red light to where you just completely lost your mind, right?
Yeah.
For me, that has always been a huge issue.
Yeah.
Right. I had the physical ability, I had the strength, I had all that. Right. But my mental side of it is what like destroyed me. Because I was my own worst critic. Right. So it was like with that, this book, just by being out the game and reading this book and having my players read this book, and then of course learning how to make them better, helped me evolve without necessarily playing.
Yeah.
Right. Like early on in my career, I was a young kid. I was just learning on the fly. I knew I had power. I knew I could get away with stuff. Worked on the mechanics a lot, right? Then went to indie ball, right? Still working on mechanics, but kind of had a better idea of who I was and the type of player I was, right? Got picked up again by Kansas City, went there. Things started to click like instantly. Like I don't know what happened, right? Home run numbers went up, RBIs went up, my average went up, like everything got a lot better. And I think it's because I was older and I was wiser and I kind of knew exactly who I was, right? Like I knew my identity, right? And then toward the end of that, of Kansas City, 2015, when I got released, I started to kind of doubt myself in a sense. Like my mindset just went completely to the left because within the 4 years I was within 3 years, I hit 80 home runs and drove in like 150 plus RBIs, right? Like, it was literally one injury or phone call away from big leagues, but ended up getting released like out of nowhere for me at least, right?
Yeah.
And so that really shook me hard, right? And then like 4 days later, of course, I get picked up by Arizona, and I go there feeling like, oh, this is a new start. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna be more relaxed, facial hair, pants down, like I can kind of be myself and start over. And I didn't necessarily get the opportunity I thought I was going to get there, and end up getting released like a month later, which even with that time, right, it was an experience that I got to learn a lot. And then I remember like literally took a month off in Somerset Atlantic League, independent ball team, the Patriots. They were like, hey, you want to play? We want you to come, nothing's guaranteed. We're already in the playoffs. We just want you to kind of come and help us out. I was like, all right. They're like, well, you have to earn a spot for the playoffs. But as of right now, we have our guys. I was like, I don't care. I just want to have fun. I just want to play. Whatever, it's fine. Go there. Luckily, the damage ended up making the playoff roster, ended up hitting like 3 home runs in the playoffs. We ended up winning the championship, right? Yeah. So it was like things started to kind of fall into place. And I was like, man, this is okay. This is an upswing. 2016 happened, and I was so affected by the politics of Philly ball and like everything that happened, and being extremely macho, like, oh, I don't deserve to be here. This is where I should be in the Philly ball. I should be here, whatever. Yeah. Started to take over my heart, and like there was a lot of anger and bitterness, and it just completely like deterred me away from something that I love to do, which was like probably one of the hardest decisions ever. I retired in the middle of July, middle of the season.
Yeah.
And, from there, like I literally went on a journey of being lost, man, like doing things I didn't want to do. And of course, then getting into coaching again, I became a cop, right? So I was a cop for like almost a year. Resigned from that just because once again, like we said earlier, right, I had to look in the mirror and really be like, this is not what is for me, right? Like the benefits were amazing, pay was good, like, I got to learn how to use a gun and whatever, all that cool stuff. But the type of person I am, like I have a big heart, so I can't just automatically come up to somebody and just judge them right away and be like, hey, down and down and like be rude, I guess. Yeah. Like,
you're a ball player, man. Yeah. You're a ball player, and that's what you do, man.
And so realizing that, man, like I made that decision. That was probably one of the hardest decisions ever too. And then I got back into coaching, and then like ever since then, it's just been like an eye-opening experience, man. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. God has led me from so many different things to lead me back to it, to shine a light, like a spotlight. Basically, like this is where you need to be. Quit playing around. Like take care of your business, believe in yourself, understand that people believe in you, and understand that they love you for what you are and who you are. Just do this, and make them tear the jersey off your back, right? And like. In reading this helped me literally like understand that, man, like I need to give this another shot.
Yeah. And so that's right there, some good advice for the younger players coming up through the ranks, especially these guys, high school seniors that, have had their season taken away from them, man, is, if you guys want it, if you guys want to go somewhere, you're listening to an interview right now of a player who's going back, and you're hoping your season is allowed to play right now, because I know how that goes with the pro ball season. Like they're waiting, and so you guys are listening to an interview here with a player who's played 12 seasons, and he's still making them take the jersey off his back. And so I challenge a lot of high school players and a lot of middle school players who feel like, hey man, we got our season taken away from us. I challenge you guys to watch this, and I challenge you guys to watch it all the way through and say, hey, look, this guy is 35, 36 years old, and he's still making someone take the jersey off his back. Why can't we do the same? And I think what separates a lot of part of the reason I'm doing this interview, let me say it this way, part of the reason I'm doing these interviews is to listen to guys like you say, the reason I got here is because of X, Y, and Z. And that's what we're listening to right now is perseverance. We're listening to a guy that has been through the ringer, per se. You've gone up, you've gone down, you've gone to indie ball, you've come back out of it, you've done everything you need to do from a numbers perspective, and we still have fallen short, and you're not letting it detour you, man. And so that's something that a lot of parents and a lot of coaches and a lot of young players need to hear, so that they understand, like, hey, there's no quitting in this. If I feel like I'm dedicated to this, and this is what I want to do, I need to continue to push forward and keep my mind right with the mindset and the approaches and stuff like we've talked about hitting and that discipline, and understanding who we are as a hitter, right? Identifying what we are, so that we always have a base foundation of, hey, this is who I am, this is what I can rely upon, and then continuing, like other people have said, like now the third time I've brought him on is Ryan, and saying, you and Ryan have talked about the same things, taking the ceilings and bashing them away and just saying, hey, look, I know what I am, but I'm going to be better than that. I'm going to continue to work on that stuff, and I'm going to continue to say, hey, look, I can do better. I can be more. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue to work through this. And so, man, Great to have you aboard, dude. Really loved hearing your perspective on things coming through the ranks. Obviously, 12 years in, we're hoping that everybody, included yourself, gets this year too, because I know that would make 13 for you. And man, I'd love to see you have some great success. Obviously, the name of this YouTube channel is Spread Crushers. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you right now this last question. Favorite spread to crush post game? What was it?
Post game?
Post game. It's got to be post game, man.
All right, post game, man. Ah, man, it's been so long.
Yeah.
But post game, I would have to say when we got McAllister's. It was McAllister's. So when we had McAllister's, when they had the sandwiches and all the different type of sandwiches and cookies and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite spreads to crush after games, man. Like I miss it actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of spreads, but McAllister's definitely was one I would remember because they were so nice to us. So
absolutely, man. All right, Matty. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming aboard, man. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come and talk hitting and talking some shop with us there about approaches and mindset. I think that's some valuable stuff. So, man, thank you for coming aboard. I hope that this season turns around, things start to plateau and come downhill, and you guys get out there and get the chance to play, even if it's abbreviated season. Man, I want to see you go out there for your 13th. I want to see you continue to chase your dreams, brother. I appreciate you coming aboard. Love you like a brother as always, man. And thank you for coming on.
Well, no problem, brother. Appreciate you too. Thank you.
All right, man. Thank you.